Federal government proposes 2.3 trillion naira to boost mining in other sectors post-COVID-19. $30 billion leakages. House of Representatives launched inquiry to fish out saboteurs. Federal government approves 60% debt forgiveness for licensed radio and TV stations, plus Nigerians begin to count the gains of AKK pipeline project. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Liakatun Babatunde. Good morning. Minister of Mines and Steel Development Olamilekan Adegbite says the federal government has proposed 2.3 trillion naira to boost the mining and other sectors of the economy in post-COVID-19 plans. He said the ministry will get 6 billion naira from the total sum at the end of the day.
We intend to spend this fund and some other funds that are available to us, helping to improve artisanal mining projects in Nigeria, people that are involved. Also, helping to deepen our explorative projects.
The minister said the pandemic has limited government's ability to go forward on the resuscitation of Ajaokuta Steel Complex, as government is 4 to 5 months behind plan.
Just before the pandemic set in, we were to host the Russian experts who are coming in to do the technical audit of Ajaokuta and, of course, of Nyomko in Itape. But, of course, this is in abeyance until the pandemic or the lockdown, especially on air travel, international travel, is lifted. Everything that is required in Ajaokuta and Nyomko that's obtainable in Nigeria must be sourced from Nigeria.
He further said the ministry is determined to take its road shows around the world to attract foreign investors into the country post-COVID-19. The federal government has approved debt forgiveness and license fee waiver for terrestrial broadcast stations in the country. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed disclosed this at a media briefing in Abuja. Anthony Fosin reports.
Following recommendations by the Post-COVID-19 Initiatives Committee for the Creative Industries report on how to mitigate the negative effects of COVID-19 on the creative industry as a whole, the broadcast industry is to enjoy some benefits aimed at giving a lifeline to the industry. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed disclosed that the National Broadcasting Commission has been mandated to grant broadcast stations 60% debt forgiveness and allow debtor stations to pay 40% on existing debt within 3 months.
Any station that is unable to pay the balance of 40% indebtedness within the 3 months window shall forfeit the opportunity to enjoy the stated debt forgiveness. The debt forgiveness shall apply to functional licensed terrestrial radio and television stations only.
The debt forgiveness and discount shall not apply to pay TV service operators in Nigeria.
These measures are in addition to the 2-month license fee waiver granted to terrestrial broadcast stations in the country by the NBC.
Responding to a question on the NBC Amended Act, the Acting Director General of the NBC explained that it is being implemented in the interest of the nation.
The provisions are clearly in the national interest. What are the issues? We are saying there should be no monopoly, by one big player to the extent that you suffocate or exclude other local players from participating in the industry. We are introducing legislation that will further request broadcast stations, to live up to their national obligations at times of national emergency.
He assured that Nigerians will be better for it in the end, as it will, among other issues, break monopoly and grant all players in the industry a level playing field for a healthy competition.
Revenue leakages amounting to $30 billion have caused the House of Representatives to open an inquiry. This is to enable it to know the actual amount involved and those responsible in what it described as acts of economic sabotage. Findings by the National Assembly show that some financial institutions allegedly connived with commercial banks and other private entities to engage in malpractices in foreign exchange and tax evasion amounting to $30 billion. It is said to have occurred in activities such as over-the-counter purchase for importation, foreign loan interest payments, forex allocations to companies, and oil revenue, among others.
We do not have the resources we need to deliver on our development ambitions and the infrastructure projects we have committed to. Under the circumstances, it is unconscionable that we are still losing vast sums of money to avoidable leakages in the system.
This investigative hearing is therefore aimed at exposing these leakages and recommend appropriate legal reforms that will forestall future occurrence.
The Joint Committee urged those invited to forward their submissions, stressing that the exercise is not a witch hunt, but to simply ensure that all actors play by the rule and pay into the Treasury what is due to government. Those to appear include the Ministry of Finance, the Central Bank of Nigeria, commercial banks, and some private entities. Now, as of December 20, 2019, the Central Bank of Nigeria issued a circular to all banks, other financial and non-bank financial institutions, providing basis for the application of charges on various products and services offered by banks and other regulated institutions. And the new guidelines include downward review of charges for electronic banking transactions, as well as sanction regime to address instances of excess, unapproved and or arbitrary charges. These and more will be the focus of the program this morning. But before we delve into the issues, our correspondent Olainka Ojo has gone to town to feel the pulse of bank customers. Let's hear from them.
The government should tell this institution to whittle down on these charges. These charges are alarming, and the fact that there's COVID-19 in the country and all over the world, other countries, other foreign clients are whittling down on charges like this. And some of these charges are hidden. Some of these bank charges are hidden charges. At times you just come month ending, we just see some deduction from your account. You don't even know where it comes from. So the government should try and call the banks and reason with them. If it will be used for development of the country, fine.
The bank is this stamp duty. Yeah, I think I noticed it like last month per se. You understand? And I discovered that even when you are doing transfer, they charge you. Even when somebody is transferring to you, there are charges. You understand? So, and as far as I'm concerned, it's discouraging. For some of us that want to form the habit of saving, if you must progress, you must save. And the best way or best place to save is in the bank. So, and if the bank is not making it safe for us to save there, then people will go back to either saving their money in the box in the house, which is dangerous.
I think last 2 weeks I discovered that I've been debited. So I tried to explain, even call the bank to complain to them. But up to now they say it has to do with the Financial Act 2020. So but to me it's unfair due to the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic that engulfed the world. So I think it's not fair for the bank to start debiting or make some deductions. I think they should have given a space or explain to the people so that they will understand more about this stamp duty deduction and others. So virtually every transaction you see there's a deduction. But to me,
I think it's not fair. If the money that is being deducted will be used judiciously, you understand now? I think it's understandable.
With the little experience I've gotten, as at February, I used Interbank to do some transaction, and at the end of the day, I was debited, and till now, no money was refunded. After several complaints to the bank, still, they just kept on posting me. So in the other side, it has affected me in the sense that I was not having any extra money to accommodate myself and do some other things. If they are saying yes, they have their banks and their workers, so they should be on our own shoe and know what we say we are feeling. So because it's not easy for somebody to work, and at the end of the day, you trust them and save your money to bank, and at the end of the day, your money was not refunded to you. So it's a very big challenge to customers.
Now, the traditional and major revenue line of commercial banks is interest charged on loans, but today, multiple charges are being experienced by customers. I have joining me on telephone, Olarewaju Raju, Chairman, Civil Society Network Against Corruption, to discuss these issues. Now, you're welcome, Mr. Olarewaju, to Business Express.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, so before we go further, we all know that banks have been charging interest on loans, of course, coming from time past. But today, we have close to 10 other charges on transactions. What happened? Is this about a revenue generation?
Yeah, it is actually not just about revenue generation, because everybody understands and knows that bank is about interest, profit, and more importantly, it is also the stabilizing of the economy, improving the business sector, both the small, medium, and large enterprise, and also providing safety for the finances, property assets, and also property of citizens, government, and business. Unfortunately, what you've had with the Nigerian bank before now is actually more of government patronage, where the focus is less on improving the economy, stabilizing the economy, and also providing leadership for the fiscal regime of the country, but rather providing support, opportunity, and also creating environment for public officials to either hide money, mismanage resources. This is where the highest percentage of the patronage of the bank is actually recorded. And for that reason, before now, most of the banks are not really connected with the business sector in terms of the new commitment to the development of small and medium enterprise. That is why you still have such a huge, very high, interest on loan, and the interest on loan don't grow businesses in Nigeria, but they rather actually kill initiatives with the charges that are associated with it. That, unfortunately, now has graduated to where there's less money from government. Not that it is not there again as government officials.
Okay, let me just come in here. Recent figures from account maintenance charges alone for 10 banks that are listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange amount to 22 billion naira compared to 19.1 billion naira in the first quarter of 2019. Now, this is after the CBN reviewed guidelines. What sense can you make of this?
Yeah, it is just the failure of the CBN to provide the expected regulatory supervision and also oversight over the banks in the protection of the citizens. I've had reason to operate bank accounts outside the country and in different jurisdictions. Most of the charges that are associated with the banks here, you don't find it in other jurisdictions. Even in less smaller economies and even in larger economies, the bank Nigeria, like I said, have survived most on many of these corner cutting and to maintain the high profile profit rate of the bank. Hidden charge.
Now, still talking at those issues around hidden charges and other charges. At present, we have stamp duty, VAT, card maintenance fee, current account maintenance fee, annual card maintenance fee, electronic transfer charges, and then they just on and on. Token, SMS. Now, how do we aggregate these for a country the size of Nigeria? How do we aggregate this?
No, because if you look at the population of the country and that of the bank, this is already talking about the population of, even looking at Lagos alone, you can be talking about the population of some of the economies. The largest economy in West Africa is Lagos. So it means that the banks in Nigeria from Lagos are already getting enough than some of these economies are getting, even from the whole country. And that's about customers. Rather, it is about exploiting the banks in Nigeria services. That is why you can see it was in the bank during the lockdown when it just opened. And I was to just withdraw money from the ATM. And I was hearing customers who said they've been at the bank as early as 4:10 a.m. because everybody needs to get to the bank to get their issues resolved. They don't have the online services. In terms of customer relations, customer appreciation, customer satisfaction, you can't count on your fingers more.
Okay, so before we let you go, I would like to also find out from you. Now, this practice, we have seen and heard the regulators and the government also come up to talk about a financial inclusion target. Now, with all what the public is facing, will you say that we are on track as a nation to meet our financial inclusion target?
No, it is not possible. We are not prepared to actually start. There must be that conscious effort on the part of the government and the regulatory agencies to actually set out a strategy that must be inclusive. So there must be an inclusive strategy to talk about financial inclusion. So you're not talking about strategy that is designed within the confines of the CBN and the directors of the banks, where the decisions are just reeled out to the public, not the process of the formulation. And the implementation is shrouded in secrecy. That is why you have so much corruption in the banks that the bank officials, by the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, the fraud in banks has been on the increase in the last 5 years. The magnitude is even more of that of the politicians, but it's been covered by the banks, and the customers are made to pay for those losses in the bank. So we've not even started.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Olaruwaju. This is the much we can take for now, but we hope to continue this conversation, of course, to know what should customers do when they notice the much of these charges. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
My pleasure. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Business Express would continue after this break.
Let me assure Nigerians that all COVID-19 intervention funds are safe in the Treasury single account, and that government is still open to donations in this regard. Government has opened special accounts with 5 commercial banks which are directly linked to the Treasury single account. Donated funds are safe in the Central Bank of Nigeria. For verifiable information about the funds and other financial obligations of the federal government, please contact us directly at the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The account details for the donations are as follows.
Now, gas is tipped to be Nigeria's next oil, and a peep into history affirms the key role of gas in powering Nigeria's economy. The recent flag-off of the Jaokuta Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline by President Muhammadu Buhari flips the page on the nation's industrialization drive as more job opportunities are in the offing for the people in the transit communities of this pipeline, and a win for manufacturers and business owners.
There will be development. There will be, where there's no light before, there will be life now. You will see that it will attract a lot of business activity.
And also remember, there are some other industrial clusters within the FCT like Idu. So there are so many plants, so many factories. Some of their operations, they need gas for them. So somehow they can tap in from the AKK.
It's not just the industries. Societal problem will be half solved because this is going to employ a lot of people.
We are hoping that the workers of that place, from clearing of the land to the completion of the project, should be employed from our immediate communities, whereby the youth will be engaged.
They have engaging some of our men, particularly the security and the land guard.
It is coming up at a very, very good time because the world is moving towards cleaner energy.
The pipeline is conceived to originate from Ajaokuta, pass through the FCT, Niger and Kaduna states before ending at the gas terminal in Kano. The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEITI, has called on the government to insulate the economy from the perennial oil price volatility by weaning Nigeria off its unhealthy dependence on oil, which accounts for the bulk of its revenues and foreign exchange earnings. NEITI made the call in its latest policy brief, where it urged the government to adopt sustainable strategies for robust fiscal cover for the Nigerian economy during periods of cyclical oil price shocks. A trend analysis of oil price shocks by the policy brief covering May 1987 to May 2020 shows that the global economy has witnessed about 8 oil price shocks in 34 years. Further analysis of total Federation revenue against oil prices reveals a close relationship between oil prices and government revenue within the period under review. The policy recommended a strategy which is to get more from the oil and gas sector in order to aid development of other revenue and export streams, block leakages, and maximize opportunities in the sector to increase revenue. And so also we're looking at the Nigerian stock market this morning, where the market is opening and remained, of course, the all share index is unchanged. It is 24,026.05 points. Market capitalization is also trading at 12.5 trillion naira. We're seeing so much activities from ABC, that is the Associated Boss Company PLC, Julius Berger, and Champions Brewery. Let's now see what the global stock market is saying.
Global markets continues to fluctuate over the reoccurrence of coronavirus spike around the world and has continued to hamper stock markets and affecting investor sentiment. European markets opened lower Tuesday, 7th July, as concerns over the threats to economic recovery of new coronavirus cases in the United States and weak German data put the brakes on Monday's rally. Stock futures in the United States were lower in early Tuesday trading after a solid rally on Wall Street to start the week. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 176 points, while S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures also traded in negative territory. Stocks in Asia were mixed on Tuesday as investors await the Reserve Bank of Australia's interest rate decision. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index advanced 0.12%. The Shanghai Composite rose 1.32%. while Nikkei slipped 0.65%. Africa stocks started the day also mixed, with South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40, Tunisia's Tunidex, and Namibia's overall index posting gains.
The dollar notched losses Tuesday and riskier currencies added a fraction to galloping gains after better than expected U.S. service data provided the latest boost to confidence in a worldwide economic recovery from COVID-19. Let's see how the Naira is faring Tuesday outside the official window. Now, this is where we end this episode of the program. Don't forget, you can access these and all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. We value your feedback. Do join us again tomorrow, Wednesday, for another package. As we continue to fight against COVID-19, remember to keep social distance while lockdown is gradually easing, and in fact, it is almost off. Always wash your hands with soap under running water frequently. My name is Leah Katung Babatunde.